I don't know.
White man's total bite, Austin. I love it.
Sorry. Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. It's just got a little beat to it. It's got some guitar. Really, all you need in any sort of music.
Gotta love that copyright-free stuff, baby.
Yeah. That's the best kind of stuff. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pop Culture Partisans, our new show on the We the People podcast network. Be sure to follow the Facebook page, like the video, share it with your friends, and same on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you get all the updates about all our shows on We the People podcast network. You know, gotta do those plugs. But I'm Austin. If you've been listening to the We the People podcast network for a while now, you may recognize my voice. I've been in the producer role on a few of the other shows, and occasionally you'll just hear me say something snarky. But I'm doing my own show. I'm doing a show with my cousin Daniel, who's right there.
I'm Daniel.
and Fitz, who is the man who makes all this possible with Rockvox Studios, and
trying to share this. I'm trying to, get the word out.
Yeah.
Pop Culture Partisans.
Yeah, it's everyone share.
So what are we talking about today, Austin? A lot of cool stuff.
Also
to pop culture and partisans.
Yeah. So let me just give everybody a little rundown on what I think the podcast is going to be and what it should be. Basically, my idea is when you look at the entertainment industry, movies, video games, TV shows, it's very let's say one-sided. It's in California. It's a little bit left-leaning, let's say.
A lot of it.
Yeah. And I think it's important, though, to have a diverse group of voices talking about things, even the entertainment industry. And of course, since the entertainment industry itself is located in California, so it's basically all the entertainment news. And so everything sort of gets filtered through that lens. And so what I've done here is I've gathered Daniel and Fitz, who are Daniel's a little right-leaning and Fitz a little left-leaning. And I consider myself a moderate. I don't call myself a Democrat or a Republican, because it turns out you can have opposing views on like from both sides of the aisle on separate issues, because some issues don't have anything to do with each other.
What?
It's very strange. Yeah,
What
I know, right?
Made you speak of?
It turns out I'm pro-choice, but also a gun owner, like pro-Second Amendment. Crazy.
You shoot as many babies as you can, huh?
No. But and so I think, though, as long as people are willing to have a civil discourse, as long as they're willing to talk to each other, you can have really good conversations, even if you come from different political backgrounds. And so I want to do that about the stuff that I love, which is movies, TV shows, and video games. And so that's
having a civil conversation has been one of the most difficult things that I've had to try to accomplish in, say, the last 4 years. Actually, probably the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like it's gotten worse, much harder.
And it's I hate to say it, but a lot of it comes from the side that I tend to agree with most, which is the left.
Sure.
And since I've been involved with We the People and working with Kimberly and everybody, I've started to learn how to see things from a different perspective, and I'm starting to see the other side of the coin. I'm starting to see where people are coming from, and it's making sense to me. I'm not saying that I'm changing all of my opinions or anything like that, but it's really eye-opening, and I think more people should have that chance before
it's weird how
crazy and start shouting and throwing things.
Yeah, it's weird how listening to people, creates empathy. It's very, very bizarre phenomena. Yeah, absolutely. I think I've actually had a similar experience. I think a couple people and a couple shows are probably a little more right leaning than I am, but they're reasonable people. They're smart people who just come at things from a different viewpoint. And talking is great. I love having conversations, even if I don't agree with somebody. Uh, oh, sorry, I just made beautiful eye contact with Daniel. So, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of sexual tension in that room, huh, guys?
That's the problem with that.
Kissing cousins?
Yeah, Deliverance theme song.
No,
Tension is palpable.
but
Yes, I'm the only one that's watching right now.
Hey, we got a few people.
So we were talking about this. We were talking about doing this kind of show. And at first it was just going to be, let's do a movie. Like we did our movie review podcast for a little while when we were, working on putting together Bottom Feeders, which you can watch on Amazon Prime. Give us a good rating on IMDb. When we were doing that, it was like, let's do a movie review podcast. And I actually contributed the least in that, in that show. And it was pretty much you and Alex were sparring most of the time, which I loved. It was a great.
Yeah, I missed that. Rock Fox Movie Talk I had a lot of fun with that, and I miss Alex and even Steve and I butted heads sometimes. But also we agreed on a lot of things. It was good. It was a good crew. And then Paulo was just a wild card. But why don't we take a second, just introduce yourselves, let the people know who you are and what you're about. What are your movie and TV show, video game interests?
Do you want me to start?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, as Austin said, my radio name was Fitz. I'm no longer in radio. My actual name is Scott Fitzgerald. And I am one of the owners of Rock Fox Recording and Production, which was the first podcast studio in town. And Kimberly started doing her show at our studio in Bushnell's Basin, and then they created their studio over there, and I started working with them over there. And then we brought Austin on board to help produce the shows over there, and it's just been smooth sailing ever since. I'm also a filmmaker. We made Bottom Feeders, which is a film written by Stephen Miller, a good friend of mine. And Austin played Frank the Tank. And he totally crushed that role. He was great in the movie, and it was a lot of fun. And I am not really up on a lot of current movies. So I know we've had conversations about the Marvel universe and stuff. I know zilch about that stuff. I'm much better with movies when I was in my 20s, which was in the 90s. So those are kind of my strong suit. After my wife and I had kids, it was kind of like, movies, what? Yeah, okay. Didn't go as much as I'd like, but I'm happy to chime in on anything that I actually know, which is not going to be a lot. So I'm just going to watch you guys spar.
Yeah. Well, do you have an HBO Max subscription? Just curious.
I did. I don't now. Bye, Austin.
Yeah.
You disappeared.
Oh, by the way, Daniel, you might have to hit a button on your thing if your screen goes black. Just a heads up. Anywho,
I have everything but HBO Max, which is weird. I've got Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Prime. I think I just subscribed to the Paramount Plus channel in Prime because of a couple of things I wanted to watch. Sure. Which was but that'll run out soon. Smithsonian channel every once in a while.
Oh, I didn't realize.
And I would get the HBO channel in Prime, but I haven't gotten HBO Max. I think I might have tried the trial for a week or something.
I don't know. I was just thinking that's they've been doing the same day release as the theaters and the and on the HBO Max service. So it's actually crazy easy to see new movies now. It's very very
Yeah, and that's like going to be a trend. I don't know if they're going to change that, but it seems to be working pretty well. And I can't remember who was talking about this, but it wasn't too long ago. It was before the pandemic, but they were talking about how going to the movies is going to be a lot like going to see a concert, right? You don't go to concerts. Well, some people don't go to concerts all the time, but when you go, it's a big deal. And so that's what movies are going to be like. You're not going to go and see maybe the next Adam Sandler movie, but you will definitely go and see the next Star Wars or Marvel or, big blockbuster, Fast and Furious type of thing.
Sure. I actually, though, I am curious about whether people will still go to see those things. Just because like Marvel in particular just ended their like phase whatever with Endgame, like right before everything hit. And so like it almost felt like a bookend to that thing. Yeah. And then the pandemic hit. And so we just didn't get a Marvel movie for like a year. And so I wonder if people are still like in it. And same thing happened to Star Wars. They did episode 9 right before the pandemic. And so I look at those and I wonder if people will come back to those franchises or if they just are like, I don't know, I moved on.
Well, there's been Marvel movies since Endgame.
There was Spider-Man.
Far From Home.
Yep, you're right.
But what is it? It's phase 4 now.
Yes, I think Far From Home was technically the last phase 3.
I think there's a Doctor Strange movie planned.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, there's still movies planned. I'm not saying they're not coming out. What I'm saying is I don't know if people are gonna bother going back to see them.
I think you're right. I think it end capped that for them though.
Yeah, I lost steam. Like I haven't watched the new Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. I'm not watching Loki right now.
Right there,
is that on Disney Plus?
Yeah, those are on Disney Plus.
It feels like that's what the movies have turned into. These I think they're about 8 episodes long, about 40 minutes an episode. So they're just these really long movies that you can watch sections of at a time.
Right at home. Right. And I did watch the one of them, the WandaVision. And I liked it. I thought it was good. But I don't know. I didn't feel like afterwards, like, oh boy, I'm back in. Here we go, Marvel.
But tying that into the movies, I couldn't imagine watching that in a theater. WandaVision, that is. If you boiled that down, it's probably about 6 hours total.
Yeah,
give or take. If that was 2.5 hours, I wouldn't want to watch it.
No,
definitely not in a theater.
Well, actually, I will say that's kind of what I liked about that show was how weird and like every episode was like its own thing. I don't know how you would translate that into a movie.
No, I don't think it would, and I think that's why it worked as a series, but it wouldn't have worked as a movie.
Okay, it's funny you say that though. But the Captain America or the Falcon show.
Yeah,
from what I understand, that's a little more traditional where you probably could cut out some fat and just make it a movie.
Sure.
And so I think as far as that goes, I think it depends on the property. Like WandaVision is so weird. There's no way to do it in a movie and you can only do it as a TV show. And if they want to do stuff like that, I'll probably be in for that. But like, if they're just taking a movie idea and they're like, all right, let's stretch this out to 6 episodes and put it on Disney Plus, and that'll keep people subscribed for 6 weeks. We get two months of payment out of them for the season.
Well, and that's what it is too, because they usually give you a month free trial.
Yeah,
and
but
so they, you gotta just wait till it's totally done.
Yeah, and so they definitely got that month. They got you. Yeah. But and hey, if that's what they want to do, I'm sure Disney is doing just fine.
Oh yeah, they're not hurting.
Right. They'll survive even if the movie theaters don't. Disney is going to do fine.
Even with their donations to Donald Trump.
Disney donated to Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Speaking of donations.
Didn't they donate to everybody though?
Oh, all right. We're going to segue right into that. All right.
Go for it.
All right. You know what?
You brought up Disney and you got me thinking about what you wanted to talk about today, which was Scott Cawthon.
Yes.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes. As everybody, if you're not familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's is a video game franchise. It's huge. It sold millions of copies. There are 9 entries in the series. Warner Brothers bought the rights and they're making a movie. Like Five Nights at Freddy's is huge.
There's books and other merchandise.
Yep. I think there's a comic book series. It's a massive multimedia
graphic novel.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry. You're right. But anyway, it recently came out that Scott Cawthon donated money to Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and several other right-wing political candidates over the course of, I think, 10 years. He made, I think it was a total of 18 donations, about $36,000.
Yeah. Also, not only right-wing, but he also made a donation to Tulsi Gabbard, who's a Democrat.
Right. Hawaiian Senator.
But
Tulsi Gabbard
is kind of on the fringe of the Democratic Party, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well,
she wouldn't be considered the most popular Democratic candidate.
Turns out you can have views from both sides. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that came to light, and Scott Cawthon just got inundated with just threats, and he got doxxed. All his public or all of his private information was made public. And there he's on the screen. And just totally harassed nonstop, to the point where he came out and retired from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise because he couldn't handle all the abuse that was coming his way, just because he made donations to these right-wing political candidates.
Have you heard of anybody on the right or anybody else donating to someone on the left and having all the right-leaning people like canceled?
No.
Have you heard of that?
No, I have not.
That's the one thing that I've always found amazing, is that, and kind of scary, that if you lean left and God forbid you do something that's not in line with what's going on, holy crap, are you skewered?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That is so scary. It doesn't matter what your intent is either. It could be an honest mistake and you're done.
There's no such thing as honest mistakes in this world.
No, and context doesn't matter.
Nope.
So the main group of people that came after Scott Cawthon was the LGBTQ plus community, because they I looked at the comments on like the Reddit thread and like just the articles that I was reading, and the way they were talking about, like, this garbage person. Scott Cawthon came out with a statement about his political donations. So he says, like, I have nothing but love for the LGBTQ community. I only made these donations because I agree with that button. Hold on. Yeah, you're back up. And I only made these donations because I agree with Donald Trump's and Mitch McConnell's and Tulsi Gabbard, whoever, all these people. I only made donations because I agree with their economic policies, with their foreign policy, with their, this, that, and the other things. The things that they really, I think, ran their platforms on. Like, people will point to Donald Trump, the military trans ban. That was the big one that kept coming up in every response that people were claiming, like, Donald Trump was anti-LGBTQ. But I don't think Donald Trump ran on a platform of the military trans ban. That was something he did once he got in office, but I don't remember him ever that wasn't his platform. And one of the articles I was reading about Scott Cawthon, I think it was from Kotaku. I just read, the quote was, like Scott Cawthon claims to love the LGBTQ community, and yet he put money toward these candidates who did everything within their power to damage the LGBTQ community. And I'm just like, that's not true. I looked into what Mitch McConnell did. I looked into what Donald Trump did. That the LGBTQ that community didn't agree with. And it was basically the military trans ban. That was the big one. And then right at the end of Donald Trump's presidency, there was the healthcare thing with the transgender. And Mitch McConnell, like when there was legislation put forth in like 2004 and 2006, he did vote against it. Both of those bills were shot down by. There were Democrats who voted to shoot down those bills. In 2004 and 2006, even Barack Obama had said, that he wasn't for gay marriage. The terms he kept using was like he supports gay civil unions, but not marriage. So that was just a different time. But like recently, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, the trans ban, those were the big ones. But to say that they were doing everything in their power to damage the LGBTQ community is just, it's hyperbole. And the fact that like these news publications use that kind of language, like claims to, but it just skews the whole story. And then you're left with nothing but like, oh, Scott Cawthon is a homophobe or transphobe. And that,
well, see, that's the problem with that kind of thinking. Now, I'm not a big fan of Trump or things that he did, and I have a trans child, so I'm a little bit sensitive to all that to all those policies. But the problem that I always have is that's the correlation that's made. It automatically goes. So if this guy wants to donate to political party, it automatically puts him in a bucket of something.
Well,
and that's the part that I don't like.
The bucket that he's in.
What's that?
Half of the United States population is the bucket that he's in.
Well, that they put him in, correct?
Right.
Yeah. People always point out that Joe Biden got more votes than any other candidate, but in this election, so did Donald Trump. There was just the biggest voter turnout in any election, Yeah. So to say that every millions of people that voted for Donald Trump are these, transphobe, homophobe, whatever. That's just, it's not true. It's not true. You could be some guy living in a coal mining town and, Joe Biden comes on the screen and he says, we're only going to go after clean energy. And, and the coal miner just goes like, oh, that'll shut, my livelihood down. It'll close every small business in my town. Because this is a coal mining town. That's all we have. And then you got Donald Trump saying, no, I'm coming in and I'm going to make sure the coal mines stay open. I'm going to make sure that you have a job. I'm going to make sure your neighbor has a job, this, that, and the other thing. And that coal miner does not think once about the LGBTQ community when he casts his vote. He's not willfully, maliciously, voting against that community. He's voting for the economy.
Well, he might be. You don't know.
Yeah. But to say that he is
primary motivating factor.
Right. And I don't think it is the primary motivating factor in most of those voters. I would go so far as to say that. I think to assume that it is ignorant.
Well, it's been said that for Scott Cawthon's games, these Five Nights at Freddy's games, the biggest cross section of the community is the LGBTQ plus community, which I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I've seen no citation on that, but that's what's been written in several articles that I've read. But I can't imagine that it's any more so than just a cross section of the population. But is there anything about these games that make them appeal to?
I think there are characters that have like weirdly androgynous qualities.
So we're in the plus department here.
Yes, and I don't think it's explicit, but I think people like sort of glommed onto it. You know what I'm saying? Like they, and I think maybe in those novels and like all that other stuff, like it just became this strange like connection. I don't know the extent of that. I don't know. Like there are plenty of people playing Five Nights at Freddy's that aren't in the LGBTQ community for sure.
Sure. So I guess my whole thing with this controversy and him, Scott Cawthon, getting canceled is why? I guess if you like the games, who cares if he donated?
Well, and so the comments
to who he donated to.
The comments I see and I saw were like, I didn't want my money going toward, whatever. And since I bought the game, like it's very inadvertent. Which
what was the total?
It was like $36,000
total. So across multiple candidates, correct?
So they don't shop at Walmart. And they don't do anything else because they don't want their money to go to the wrong political party. I mean,
right.
If you made all your financial choices that way, you'd never get anything done.
No,
for real. Like, people, and then like, people don't buy like stuff made in America, but they'll say, oh, I don't like the child labor in China. They're not looking at their tags when they're buying stuff in the store. Like you can't shop that way because it would drive you insane.
I knew some people that did that, and they were not snappy dressers. They did not look nice people, salt of the earth, but man, did they dress poorly.
I believe it. But I forgot my point.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
Talking about like people buying stuff that was made in America.
Yes, I remember my point now. The fact that it was $36,000.
Yeah,
Scott Cawthon has donated over $1 million to various charities over the past several years. At one point, it was a $500,000 donation to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Another $250,000 donation to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital 2 years earlier.
Right.
And then just various like $100,000 here to, One Up, I think is the name of the charity. I mean, just these very like goodwill, nice things, and all of that's erased. It doesn't matter that he donated $1 million to children's hospitals,
right?
Because he donated $36,000 to right-wing political candidates, and not fringe right-wing political candidates, not like obscure, no name racist buttfuck in Onondaga County. Like I don't like not to Mitch McConnell, who was the Senate Minority Leader and at the time the Senate Majority Leader, and to Donald Trump, who was the presidential candidate for the Republican Party. So then like just say basically what they're saying is that if you're a Republican, you're a transphobe or a homophobe or a bigot. That's what they're saying. When all these people who came after Scott Cawthon.
Well, and they came after him, and he kind of bent the knee. He just said, screw it, I'm done. I've got a 6-week pregnant wife at the time, which was it was last week. So she's probably just in her first trimester, and she's scared. He got doxxed, and all of his public information got out there.
You say bent the knee, but like I don't blame him.
No, not at all. But he's he's going to take his $60 million net worth if that's
right.
I mean, go live a life. I don't blame him either.
But I don't think he was willing to die on that hill. I don't think he was willing to let his wife die on that hill.
No, I think that's what in the article it talks about him. He started Five Nights at Freddy's in his 30s, and he missed out on a lot. And he's got other kids, and now he's in his mid 40s. and he said he just wants to live his life. And maybe this was that door, that he needed, and it was a blessing in disguise.
Sure. I mean, I wish him nothing but happiness.
Sure.
I think he's like, he seems like a nice enough dude. He's charitable. Every
genuine.
Yeah.
If you've watched anything, well, he's very private too.
Sure.
That was the other thing. So I think this probably hit him a lot harder than it might hit other quote unquote celebrities. But yeah. I mean, he was very open and honest. He said he's a pro-life Christian, which, like, I'm not pro-life, but I'm not going to dox him because I have a differing opinion on that. It's weird that the moral high ground is in this case are the people that are harassing a pregnant woman and a video game developer.
It's the fact that people don't have any sort of self-reflection to go like, wait, is this wrong?
I mean,
what's wrong with me doing?
Of course, that there are people who they don't give a crap either way. They just jump on, to the slaughter.
Oh, sure.
We don't know who actually the information, like who did it, or it just like appeared just somewhere.
There's a site that makes a point of doing it. It's like one secret or something like that. I can't remember.
Are they crusaders for any particular cause, or are they
target the right wing? Just from I'd only heard of them today, and so I only looked into them a little bit. But it does seem like they make a point of like finding information on people who have supported right wing candidates and things of that nature. And it's sad.
I haven't voiced opinions about one thing either way for so long, and that was not me. Back when I lived down in Florida, I was very active in politics. I was very involved, and especially now as a small business owner, the last thing I'm going to do is go on Facebook and start ranting about any political, you know what I mean? It's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like,
sure.
I'm actually worried being on this thing right now because somebody's getting to it and make their own correlations about me.
I exactly. I feel the same way. I was thinking the same thing, leading up to this today. But the more I read about this story and these sort of things in particular, you just kind of have to,
yeah.
You can look, if you saw that Scott Cawthon donated to Donald Trump and you don't like that, it is your prerogative to not buy Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, but I need everyone else to know that I don't like that either. Look, and my opinion matters. So
you know what?
Hear me.
Go on Twitter and say, I'm no longer going to buy Five Nights at Freddy's because Scott Cawthon donated to Donald Trump. You can say that. Don't dox him. Don't say, you piece of shit, garbage motherfucker. I'm going to kill you and your pregnant wife.
What else? What else do people do on the interwebs now? I mean, that's out.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. It's sad. That's
Twitter's go-to.
And the fact that it has power, though, is
real world implications. Yeah.
Yes, Scott Cawthon no longer is working on the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, a multi-million-dollar franchise that extends to various media, Warner Brothers movie, all these things, and because he made a couple like $2,000 donation, there was 18 donations, total $36,000, so it was about $2,000 per donation, which, by the way, was probably a tax write-off.
Well, and it's chump change to these political campaigns.
Yeah. If Scott Cawthon did not donate his $2,000, the Trump trans military ban still would have happened. Scott Cawthon did not cause that. Scott Cawthon donating $500,000 to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, that probably saved a life. That probably saved multiple lives. That could buy that's a real thing. Like that can affect change. And so
yeah, but it's like those signs that middle-aged women have for their dogs. Nobody remembers when I do something right, but no one can forget when I do something wrong.
it is, well,
You know,
yeah. I mean,
they're made out of tin and they're like painted weird. And, yeah.
hold on. Open another cream ale.
There
We're
you
not
go.
sponsored by cream ale, but we should be because they're delicious. Everyone shits on the cream ale, by the way. I mean, you know what? Total
I shit
tangent.
after the cream ale.
Back when I was drinking, I liked cream ale.
It's a myth. The you don't have to shit after a cream ale. Do you know what a cream ale is? A cream ale is
Genesee River water.
all right. Let's say a not Genesee cream ale, another brand cream ale. All a cream ale is you take you brew it like an ale, but it's lager yeast, which I'm pretty sure means you brew it warm. Like ales are brewed warm, lagers are usually brewed cold, and that's what a cream ale is. And by the way, one of the few types of beer to be invented in America.
You should go say that opinion on the internet.
That's of all the things I've said here, my support of cream ale is probably the one I'm going to get canceled over.
Yeah, absolutely. No, because it's trendy now. It's
my lawnmower
Yeah.
beer. You know, I mow the lawn.
So what's
got
next
this.
on the docket?
All right, good. That's enough.
Genesee River.
On a side note, I was trying desperately to share this, and I've been failing this whole time trying to share this video, trying to share this live link to my Facebook page.
Hey, let me just make sure I can do that.
I just finally found the link, but I could not do it on my phone. My goodness, was that
I can't find my phone either. Hold on, let me double check and make sure that we're actually broadcasting right now.
We are. I don't think anyone's watching, but we're definitely broadcasting.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, so the next thing I want to talk about is lately there's been a controversy about a video game called 6 Days in Fallujah. Have you guys ever heard of 6 Days in Fallujah, or do you know anything about that?
No, only from what you've shared and then what I've looked up.
So this is one of those really uber violent shoot 'em up games that the kids are playing.
It is a shoot 'em up video game. I don't think it's extraordinarily violent.
Well, I mean,
like Soldier of Fortune or one of those.
I mean, it is you know what, like, but it's not Doom. It's not like you're ripping people in half. Like that's what I think of when I think of like ultra violence. Yeah, like it's not reveling in the. It's just it's about war. It's a war game.
Would you say accurately portraying violence that has happened in the real world?
It's interesting you say that. That's the goal with the game. You can watch the developers. They talk to real life soldiers. The term they used was like it's like a video game documentary, and I think that may be why there's so much controversy about this game in particular. It's the fact that they're saying that it's so real and all this stuff. And do you guys know anything about the Second Battle of Fallujah, the real life event that where this game takes place?
It was really, really bad.
Yeah, yeah. It's about,
I know
so
that
the Second Battle of Fallujah, that was it was in November or December of 2004, and basically insurgents had taken over the Iraqi city of Fallujah, and a large deployment of U.S. troops went in to rout out the enemy. It was Al Qaeda and
Taliban.
Another group, but I don't remember the name of them.
In Iraq.
But anyway, so there was some controversy at the time because there were allegations that the U.S. military had deployed white phosphorus on civilians.
Yeah.
Which, if you know what white phosphorus is, it's not going to kill you, but you're gonna have a bad day.
Yeah.
So and that in the the U.S. military has denied those claims and said that they only used it on enemy combatants, but that's part of the controversy. But
That they
anyway,
use it on civilians and not just enemy combatants.
yes. So Six Days in Fallujah is a video game. It was announced, I believe, in 2014 first, and then there was a controversy all around it, and it got canceled because people were like, "Oh, it's too close to the actual events. It's too soon to talk about this or to portray this in a video game." And so it was only last year that they announced that they were reviving it. It's and it's not like an indie game. It's not like a little low budget, micro budget game. It has a real pedigree behind it. It's being made by like the developers of Halo and Fallout, like very big video game franchises. But they wanted to tell like a real life story about this event, the Second Battle of Fallujah. And recently it's come under fire again as like controversial. Like one of the headlines I read the other day was like, "Oh, you don't have to tell the story of war crimes in a video game," or something along those lines. And people are calling for the game to be canceled again. And I think that's crazy. I think because one, we don't know the context of the game or anything that's in it because it's not out. It hasn't come out yet. But there's a change.org petition that which, by the way, the language of that it calls for the game to be canceled because it's going to make future mass shooters and teach racism and all these things, where it's just like, you don't know that. You don't know, you haven't played the game. At that point when the petition was made, they hadn't even shown any footage of the game. It was just announced, and here's the concept. And I think it's interesting.
Well, it's a valid question to ask, should this game be made? Do you not think that?
I don't know that it is. I think, I don't know that I would agree that should this be made. I think once it's made, you can comment about it or ridicule it to your heart's content. Once you have it, then you can.
Sure, but I'm talking about even if you're the developer of this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody had this idea. They looked at this event and said, "This would be a good game."
Mm-hmm.
Potentially. I mean, I'm sure there was a little bit deeper context
Sure.
of that, but you got to look at anything critically like that and say, should this be made? Though I think the question, so can it be made and should it be made are different questions.
Yes. And my thought is, I never want to tell people what should be made.
Because you're the arbitrator of your own ingestion of media.
Right.
So you can choose, everybody is. So you can choose what you like. I don't like horror movies. I don't watch horror movies, but do I think they shouldn't be made? I don't care if they're made. Of course they should be made. People like them.
Even like to say that it's tasteless. You can say that it's tasteless. Sure. But so is there no place for tasteless things?
Well, I think taste.
We're living proof that that's not true. Plenty of room for taste.
Taste is. Yeah, I think there are plenty of people who would want to just see a military story, a military video game from the military's like perspective. With all these, they talk about how they've had people, soldiers who were on the ground there, and they trying to make it as accurate as possible.
Well, it sounds like they did their due diligence in producing the game,
right?
And actually talking to firsthand sources,
right? It's not trashy, I don't think. No. And though again, I haven't seen the finished product. It might be trashy. For all I know, when the game comes out, it might be garbage.
Austin,
And
is there any validity to the argument that movies, video games, certain things contribute to the delinquency of minors?
I don't think
It's
so.
been an
I think
argument
there's
that
research.
has been made for centuries, and it's still being made for various pop cultures, going back to magazines like Playboy. When Playboy first came out, it was going to deteriorate the social, fabric of the society because it's smut.
Comic books and rock and roll, everything.
Yeah.
Every time a new medium is introduced, there is controversy about whether it will corrupt the youth.
Well, and that's funny you said new medium, because they've written books about this.
Mhm.
Should you have not, should books not be written about this?
And actually, that's a good call. I was actually going to segue. Like, it seems to be less controversial. Video games, since they are the newest medium, are the most controversial, I think. That seems to, do you disagree? You made a face.
I think, well, they're different because they're interactive. They're not passive like a movie would be.
Okay, so I mean, look,
but though, to what Scott said, there's no real there's no evidence to say that video games would cause teens or kids or people to be violent.
Sure.
Tom says he's addicted to porn thanks to Playboy.
Well, I feel like I would have it to Tom anyway. Sorry, Tom. But I think most of the time, when you see the evidence that presented is, in my opinion, correlational, not causational, wherein they'll say a mass shooter, like this mass shooter, he loved Grand Theft Auto, and so therefore, Grand Theft Auto must have made him a mass shooter.
And so does my 90-year-old grandma.
Yeah. It turns out Grand Theft Auto has sold 50 million copies.
Somebody likes it.
Yeah.
It is huge. It is worldwide.
Yeah.
It is, turns out Grand Theft. Oh, hello. I think, but my point is, like, yeah, he probably did like Grand Theft Auto because everybody likes Grand Theft Auto.
Well, yeah.
It's super fun. It's a great game. Like, the game design is top notch. So,
but should that game? Remember when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out? That was for the PS2. That's what revolutionized it. There was this whole controversy was what's going on then too. Nothing's changed. This shouldn't be made. It's corrupting our youth. It's insensitive.
It's funny you say that though, because you know what has changed is who is making the arguments.
Well,
when that time you're talking about, the early 2000s, late 90s, the Mortal Kombat, whatever, that when the ESRB was made, which is the video games rating system, that was a right-wing
conservative.
Yeah, it was a conservative viewpoint. Like, it was the conservative viewpoint that video games are corrupting the youth and all. I forget the name of the senator who was leading that charge.
Oh yeah.
I'll have it next time. Dole? Sorry, what was it?
Was it Bob Dole? Wasn't he involved in something like that? Yeah.
I think he was involved, but I don't think he was the ringleader. But now it's like those articles that I was talking about 6 Days in Fallujah. Excuse me, cream ale. Are left-wing articles from left-wing websites. And so it's weird that the shoe is on the other foot, that they're the ones trying to cancel things.
Everything's flip-flopped.
It's very strange. It's an incredible phenomena. Actually, I'm going to segue this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and they're still trying to not have Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, in the libraries because of the N-word. And that's not coming from the conservative side, I don't believe. So,
no,
there's both sides want to prohibit something because it doesn't go along with what they believe, or they think it's giving the wrong message, or is creating violent kids, creating racist kids, creating, I don't know, porn addicted kids, or Tom,
Yeah,
But Daniel, what are you gonna say?
I don't know what are conservatives and generally speaking the right wing trying to prohibit now.
So that's I was also going to make that point. It seems like they've given up in a way, like the Christian conservative movement of like the late 90s, early 2000s just seems to like it, or it doesn't have any power anymore. I don't know if like those people might still be beating that drum, but no one is listening. No one hears that drum.
Well, I think they're living by their principles.
Yeah, but I think they gave up trying to make everybody else.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you think that's what the left is doing now?
Then now the left is beating the drum. Now the left is the one making the noise.
Yeah, but they're not. Whereas I knew what the conservatives in the early 2000s stood for. What does the left of now stand for? Like, what are they promoting? Because all I see is them denigrating things. Like, they don't want this game to be out. So,
and I will say they always use the most provocative language. Like they say that this game is clearly racist and that's teaching like anti-Iraqi sentiment or all this stuff, which it's not necessarily teaching that. It's teaching maybe anti-Al-Qaeda sentiment. Because and turns out Al-Qaeda was bad. Al-Qaeda was not doing nice things. It's and I think it's interesting because there are video games and stuff based on real world conflicts, namely World War II. World War II has so many video games and so many movies, both based on like fictional and like real life things. How many movies and video games that whatever have the storming of Normandy? Yeah. And why is that okay? It's not teaching. Why we're not saying? Oh, it's teaching anti-German
universal bad guy. Because the Nazis were universal bad guy, right?
Sure, but Al-Qaeda also kills Jews. Al-Qaeda also doesn't like gay people. Al-Qaeda also doesn't like.
Well, not only doesn't.
I don't think anybody's standing up for Al-Qaeda.
Neutering.
Well, so what you say no one's standing up for Al-Qaeda, but then why is it not okay to have this video game about fighting Al-Qaeda? But it is okay to have a video game about fighting the Nazis.
Is it purely just a violence thing, or are they specifically saying you paint Iraqis in a bad light, or you make these people look bad? I don't understand.
That was in the change.org petition that the game is racist and has anti-Iraqi sentiment. But my point is I don't think it is anti-Iraqi sentiment in the same way that you don't say those World War II games are anti-German, they're anti-Nazi.
Well, they're also pro-American.
Yes. Yeah. It's very much the Allies, Axis and Allies fight, I don't know. I don't get it. I'm it's the same thing. It's not
trendy now to be pro-American.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I'm very much pro-American. I think people are examining what it means to be pro-American, and there are some people who don't want to look too deep, and other people who want to really look deep and explore all of it. And those, I think that's where the disconnect is. It's like you have to admit that there's some bad shit in our history, but that doesn't make a bad country. It just still have work to do in all fronts, right?
Sure. Does it take away from the accomplishments that have been made though? I don't think so.
No.
Of America. Yeah.
I think the attempt is to build a more perfect union.
Yeah, it's not it's not a perfect union, it's to build one, right?
What I think what the argument is now is how deep do you go into that? Like, specifically speaking about racism, how deep do you go into that as a fabric of the founding of our nation? And it goes deep. It goes very deep. And I think there are people who want to say there's no point in going back that far. And then there are other people who say, no, it makes perfect sense to go back that far, because you need to see how everything led to where we are now. And there's truth in both comments. There's truth in both sides of that. And I wouldn't even be able to come up with an answer on what you should do.
Yeah. I think
19 project and critical race theory and all that stuff. I've looked into it, and there's a lot of, very important information that's on there, and that's part of that. But there's also a lot of people who are taking it and doing stuff with it for their own means, their own ends, for their own gain. I think that's what happens all the time in this country.
Well, that happens on for
the
sure.
Loudest people in the fringe always make the most noise and get the most ears.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. And we're getting a little late into the podcast, so I don't want to just start a debate on critical race theory. I think
we weren't. We were not debating that at all. But it was
no. I mean my single sentence I guess thought on that is my fear with all this looking back is that if we're always looking back, I feel like we're not looking forward. Like we can find the causes and all that, and that's important, but we have to we are where we are now, and we need to move forward from that, I think. And I think being and constantly being in the past about, like, I don't know that that's conducive to solving the problems.
Okay. Well, I somewhat disagree with you, and I also somewhat agree with you. I think I understand where you're coming from, but it's a whole different subject. It's an entirely different,
civil discourse. Oh my gosh.
It's a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a box I don't want to open up, because I'll say something stupid and,
Well, yeah, I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers. Austin doesn't have the answers.
Yeah.
We're just, I will say everything I think boils down to people are just doing the best they can.
Yes. No one plays the villain in their own story.
No.
Everyone.
Oh, I do. I've been my own worst enemy for years. Actually, I'm finally getting better with it.
I have been meaning to talk to you about your constant
evil.
Yeah. But it's just about 7:00. I think that's about a good place to wrap it up for today. Thanks for listening, everybody.
That bombshell.
Yeah. No, that's good though. I think we had a very nice conversation, and that's.
I'll try to come in next week, because I'm not a big fan of this little head in the little box thing. So.
We'll sort out all the kinks for sure. But until then, everybody, take care. Be kind to others. I'm gonna steal Tom's thing, I guess.
You got your plugs.
Everyone like and share on the Facebook and YouTube page. Thank you. You know what? Thanks. Yeah.
And be looking for Pop Culture Partisans on your favorite podcast platform. I just created the podcast, so it'll be a little while before it's posted on Apple and all that. It will be available on Spreaker, and you can find it on the We the People Podcast Network Facebook page.
There you go. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night,